Before he became the head of the Roman Catholic Church, Jorge Bergoglio was a cardinal from Argentina. But the Pope's spiritual roots may very well be traced to the hills of Umbria and the hometown of the saint whose name he chose for his own.
Altissimo onnipotente Monsignore, tue son le laude, la gloria e l'onore.
A song of praise to brother sun and sister moon, and the beauty of all God's creation. These are the words of St. Francis of Assisi.
It's very important because it's a very beautiful hymn and because it's the oldest text in Italian.
The oldest text in Italian.
So it's the starting point of Italian literature.
Franciscan brother Carlo Botero showed us an early copy of the Canticle of Creation, composed almost 800 years ago, and believed to be the first poem ever written in Italian.
Onne benedizione.
Francis was blind and in great pain when he wrote it, and yet
he remembered all the beautiful things he saw and was still happy that people can see.
If Italy's patron saint and the village he hailed from are of particular interest these days, it's because of a certain Jesuit cleric in Rome who chose his name, Pope Francis.
I think he's the best Franciscan now living, Pope Francis. It's not easy to live according to his example.
So he brings a lot of joy and a lot of pressure.
Yes, yes.
The remarkable story of the saint who inspired a pope is told on the walls of the Basilica of St. Francis in Assisi, in frescoes attributed to the Renaissance master Giotto.
He was rich, he was spoiled, he had everything he could possibly desire. Inside he had nothing.
Franciscan Father Martin Bresci.
So one day, around the age of 25, he made a decision. I'm giving everything away, including my will, and giving it all to the Lord.
The son of a wealthy merchant, Francis heard God call him to rebuild my church, for it is in ruins, and dedicated his life to living just as Jesus had.
He was scorned, he was ridiculed, he was spat upon.
People probably thought he was nuts.
Certainly, very nuts. Giving away everything he had to live a life of stark poverty. Whoa. This is a place of calm, of peace.
Throughout his life, says Brother Alessandro Brustenghi, Francis sought communion with God in this hermitage outside of Assisi.
Staying here and praying here inside the caves, among woods, with birds and with animals, he understood that God is the creator of everybody and everything.
Eventually, Francis gained disciples, and in this humble chapel founded his own religious order, dedicated to universal brotherhood.
Jesus taught us that if you serve the other people, you discover the peace. You will discover happiness.
And that's a message that's central to the mission of Pope Francis, says New York's Timothy Cardinal Dolan.
He stood out for his love for the poor, the simplicity and sincerity of his life, the priority that he put upon humility, and all of those are Franciscan virtues. So when he said, I will be called Francis, I said, wow, how beautiful.
Cardinal Dolan remembers well the first time he met the future Pope in 2013.
I feel this tap on my back, and I turn around and he said, I'm Jorge Bergoglio from Buenos Aires. I think you're Timothy Dolan from New York, and I wanted to meet you. And I thought right away, I like this guy.
It's the Pope!
And Cardinal Dolan is not alone. Here's how he describes the so-called Francis effect.
The number of people that will come up to me as I'm walking the streets in New York and say, hey, we like this guy, Francis. I haven't been to church in a while, but I'm taking a second look, okay?
The 266th Pope is the first from Latin America, and, it may surprise you, the first to choose the name Francis. Was choosing the name Francis seen by some as radical?
Yes, it also shows that he wants to be a kind of pope outside of the box, off the throne, if you will. That can be very appealing, it can be very exciting. The concern of some would be that it's disruptive, that it's destabilizing.
Francis X. Rocca reports on the Vatican for the Wall Street Journal. And yes, he's my brother. You described him as the de facto global leader of the left. What do you mean?
He's been very, very clear he has a certain agenda in the political and economic areas. I mean, on climate change, he's grabbed that in a very, very, very aggressive way. Certainly, he's been scathing in his criticisms of the global financial system, of capitalism really in general. The Pope basically favors open borders, not only for refugees, but also for economic migrants.
Although globally the Pope is very popular, among conservative Catholics in America, Francis has been more controversial. Many believe he's blurred the lines around traditional church teachings.
You bet there are conservatives that are unhappy with Pope Francis. There are also some liberals that wish that he would move much more radically and expeditiously in some of the reforms. So you're going to get it from both sides. I think he's aware of that.
I'm excited to see this. But for 17-year-old Zuleika Reimer of the Academy of Mount St. Ursula in New York's Bronx neighborhood, Pope Francis is an inspiration. Wonderful. That is so striking, so beautiful. It so clearly comes from you. She painted this portrait of St. Francis for us to present to the Pope. How do you hope the Holy Father reacts to this?
I hope he looks at it and just like admires it and maybe like say like, wow, someone actually made this, and just basically cherish it.
And then the day we've been waiting for, the Pope's Wednesday audience in St. Peter's Square.
In nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo.
And I had the privilege of meeting His Holiness and presenting him with Zuleika's gift.
Su Santidad, Your Holiness, Saint Francis of Assisi, Zuleika, un estudiante en escuela católica.
And as the Pope admired her portrait of his namesake, I asked him why he chose the name Francis.
¿Por qué escogió Su Santidad el nombre Francis?
Porque se me ocurrió.
It just came to you.
Yes.
And then he left us with a request of his own.
Pray for me. Oh, I need it.
And what more beautiful prayer to end on than the one from Saint Francis?
Altissimo, onnipotente, bon Signore, tue son le laude, la gloria e l'onore, et onne benedizione.